Joe Biden might actually be trying to sabotage Kamala Harris. In fact, it wouldn't shock me. We're going to be going through some of the biggest stories in the news today. To help me do that, I have Vince Everett Ellison. Vince, thank you so much for joining me again.
Oh, Stephen, it's always a pleasure to be with you and your wonderful, wonderful audience.
So I think this is like our fourth or fifth show. I just love having you on. I wish I could get the kind of views that you get on Tucker Carlson, but my audience seems to just love your enthusiastic energy. I know you saw this, but just a couple of days ago, President Joe Biden, maybe from dementia or anger, alluded that he would like to drown Donald Trump at a recent press conference. He then said, MAGA Americans are garbage people. Trump is harsh on Democrat leaders, but he's not really harsh on Democrat voters. What are your thoughts on the sitting president of the United States calling half the country human garbage?
That's how Democrats have always seen the American people. Me being a Black American, I'm not surprised at this because you see how they treat Black people. They keep them locked in these ghettos. They make sure they destroy the family. They make sure that they block them in these terrible public schools that do not work, will not allow them to learn to read or write. They want to disarm them and then pull the police out at the same time to leave them at the mercy of these murdering thugs and drug dealers and killers. They bring the illegals over with the fentanyl and the sex trafficking. They bring the illegals over and make the rents go sky high and take the jobs away from the people that live in these areas. They've always looked at the American people as human garbage. They want to sexualize your children. They want to castrate little boys and call them little girls, give double vasectomies to little girls and call them little boys. They want to murder children up to the 9th month. This is who they are. You've heard me say it before, Steve, and I say it again. The Democratic Party is the evilest institution in the history of the world. They are part of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. And I can't wait to see. And Joe Biden just let it slip about how they really feel. They try to lie and they try to gaslight. But at the end of the day, they are horrible, horrible institutions. And they're horrible, horrible people that lead this party.
Yeah, unfortunately, when people have dementia, they lose the filter. And so I think you're right. I think he has bad feelings. I think he has vitriol. He has anger. And it slipped out that, hey, if you didn't vote for me, you're human garbage. Yeah. And, now the White House is trying to walk it back. Oh, it was taken out of context. How do you take out of context? I want to drown Donald Trump, and I think his voters are human garbage. I don't know how you take that one out of context, but, they've had to walk him back so many times. Even VP Kamala Harris, she's running for president. She had to publicly say that she disagreed with Biden's assessment of voters that don't vote the way he believes. But then I went to her Twitter and was able to locate nearly a dozen tweets where she says MAGA voters are extremists that will ruin the country. They're the most dangerous people in the country. So even Kamala Harris, although she's trying to distance herself from Biden, she's let it slip all over X that she thinks MAGA voters are dangerous and that they are extremists. Your thoughts on her?
Well, that's who she is. You saw her the other week, right, when the young men in her audience said Christ is King, and she said you're at the wrong rally. Kamala Harris is not a good person. We know that at the beginning of her career, she was down in San Francisco. Willie Brown's side piece. Willie Brown was one of the head politicians in the state of California. He was in his 60s. She was 29, hanging out with Montel Williams, doing anything for power. She married this beta male, Doug Emhoff. Every time I see him, I want to beat the hell out of him. The guy's a beta male. She won't take his name, won't have him any children, or can't have him any children, won't take his religion, but spend all of his money. That's who he is. That's who she is. The way she got the vice presidency was she ran for president, as you know. She didn't make it to the Iowa caucuses. So she got a bunch of thug rappers and greasy Black preachers to send Joe Biden a letter telling Joe Biden that if he did not put a black woman on his ticket that they was going to destroy his campaign. Joe Biden had dementia, so he didn't know that Kamala Harris was Caucasian. So she walked up to Joe and said that she was black. Joe put her on the ticket, and that's how she became vice president. She's always finagled her way. She's always lied her way into power. But now she's been exposed. You know, just like all the rest of these lying Democrats, they support LGBTQ. I mean, you saw her sitting in front, sitting with this guy, right, saying that she's going to use federal money to give prisoners sex change operations. She's going to use federal money to make sure that they can get as many abortions in America as possible. She's the first vice presidential or presidential candidate to ever visit an abortion clinic. Kamala Harris said it ain't good enough for her to hear about the babies being dead. Kamala wants to see the babies being dead. And they have said with their own lips now that they want to use the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian population, to tear down the Russian military. This to them is using the death of Ukrainians just to diminish Russia's military. That's all they care about. They don't care how long this war goes. They want to see people over there die. They want to give money to the American industrial complex and diminish the Russian military. And they don't care how many people die in the process. And then you got what's going on in the Middle East. Hamas came over that day and killed and kidnapped Americans. They didn't just kill Jews. They killed over 100 Americans that day, kidnapped Americans and still have American hostages over there. And Joe Biden over there talking about a ceasefire, him, Kamala Harris. You should be going over there having Israel kill every last one of those jokers till they give those Americans up and destroy Hamas and Hezbollah for killing over 100 Americans that day. They are weak, they are stupid, they're feckless, and I can't wait until they get kicked out of office.
Oh, my gosh. From your lips to God's ears, we got to get these guys out. But that is an interesting one because, you know, if another country took 100 American hostages under Donald Trump, you think he'd be back in America on vacation or sucking his thumb in the White House? He would be making threats every single day. I mean, this guy would have gone crazy. That's probably why they're terrified of having him back in office. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Whoopi Goldberg from The View said, she told viewers one of the things she's most scared about with a second Donald Trump term is that he will break up biracial marriages. And then said, in the case of immigrants, he will break you up, deport your spouse, and make white men marry someone else. What in the heck is she talking about?
Whoopi Goldberg should be I think the scariest thing she should be concerned about in the second Donald Trump administration, her looking in the mirror and seeing her own reflection. These people are crazy, man. Look, seriously, Stephen, the more we look at these people, the more you find that they are really a bunch of insane people. And we've gotten to a point in America where we've allowed these insane people to elevate themselves to positions of power. And we believe that since they are in these positions of power, that they're not crazy anymore. Hitler did the same thing. Hitler was crazy, always had been crazy. But because he became chancellor, they thought he wasn't crazy anymore. He was still crazy. He bought all of these, and then he bought all these crazy, everybody around him he bought around him was crazy. All of them. Goebbels, all of them were just completely psychopaths. Mussolini, crazy as hell, becomes the head of Italy. What did he do? Bring a bunch of crazy people around him. Whenever crazy people take power, they believe that crazy people like them are sane, and they believe the same people are crazy. Whoopi Goldberg, Joe Biden. Look who Joe Biden brought to the White House. Gets up there, brings that guy, Rachel Levine, man in a dress, ugly man in a dress. Up there, he coming to the White House, to the Oval Office for a job interview with a dress on and a wig and want everybody to call him a man and say, if you don't call me a man, I'm going to get you fired. He brought that crazy Sam Brinton guy up there. Bald head, red lipstick, mustache, pumps in the dress. Gave him a job. Got a bunch of weirdos and freaks up there running around in the White House. It's like the bar scene from Star Wars. It's crazy. And you go up there And it's like, you know, you've seen these movies where the crazy guy takes over the asylum, like on TV when the Joker on Batman, he takes over a place. He puts all kind of crazy stuff up and have people walk around looking like they're crazy because he's crazy. The Democrats are the exact same way. Drag queens in schools, shaking their behinds in your children's faces. Taking the Bible out of the library, putting pornography into the library. You know, just insane, allowing demented men in dresses to go into the bathroom with your wife and your daughter, watching your wife and your daughter urinate. And if the man come in and try to stop it, they're gonna put the man in jail. Yeah, these guys are gonna let grown men as big as me participate in sports with a little girl that weighs 120 pounds. And they're gonna say, yeah, this is okay. These people are absolutely, positively insane. Joe Biden is taking the state of Tennessee to the Supreme Court. You know why? Because Tennessee found out that they were giving sex change operations to minors in the state of Tennessee, and Tennessee passed a law that said you can't do it anymore. So what does Joe Biden do? Instead of saying, that's a good idea, I support you, they said, no. We're going to take the state of Tennessee to the Supreme Court and not just saying that you should be able to give minors sex change operations. He wants no age limit on sex change operations for minors. So if you got some demented weirdo parent who wants to change his 2-year-old boy into a girl, he can take that child in there and do it to him. That's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden supports. And this is why the Black community and the Christian community is finally turning against those two psychopaths.
Yeah. Let me just state for the record in my research, Vince, Kamala Harris has advocated for taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners, also taxpayer-funded sex change for illegal immigrants. So taxpayer money going to both of those. Also, from my research, California has the highest rate of imprisoned men claiming to be women so they can be moved to women's prison. They also have the highest level of women being assaulted, raped, and impregnated by men in prison that believe they are women. Just wanted to put those facts out there.
Well, hey, Steven, look, man, if I go to jail, I want to go to jail in California, okay? Because, you know, I can just say I'm a woman and just be sent to a woman's prison. That might be a pretty good 5 or 6 years to spend behind bars, man.
Yeah. I can see why they would do that. Okay, going back to Whoopi Goldberg saying a second Donald Trump term, he would break up biracial couples and he would deport illegal immigrants and make the white men marry someone else. If that is true, then why is Trump surging with black voters? In 2016, he got about 8% of the vote. Then in 2020, he got about 16% of the vote. Now they're saying over 30% of the vote. The trajectory is he's becoming more and more accepted and seen as common sense by Black American voters. But why? If he's going to break up biracial couples and deport people, your thoughts on all of that?
People are not buying it. Whoopi Goldberg saying that shows the contempt she has for the average American person. She really thinks that people are stupid enough to buy what she's saying.
But do you think she believes it, or it's just a fiery comment that she knows will go viral?
I believe that she's stupid enough to believe it. I do believe that she's stupid enough to believe that she is so ignorant of the law that she thinks that the President of the United States of America is a king and that he can do something like that. Whenever people start talking about Trump's a fascist, Trump's going to be a dictator, Trump's going to be that, I said, oh, idiot, just read the Constitution of the United States of America. There's too many layers to this government. There's too many checks and balances. They're governors, they're city councils, there's the Senate, there's the House, there's the courts. No, the founding fathers, in their brilliance, did not trust government. They set up a system of checks and balances. So if you ever did get a fascist into the White House, and I think every president up there would wish that he could be a dictator. He wishes that he could just snap his fingers and everything he wanted could be done. And the founding fathers understood that everybody that got up there wished that they could snap their fingers and get things done. They said, no, it's not going to be that way. You're going to have to go through 435 people in the House, 100 in the Senate, and then the Supreme Court is going to have judicial review to look at everything you've just done and say, okay, this is okay. The checks and balances are going to make sure everybody stays in line. Everybody in D.C. wants to be a dictator. Every last one of them wish they could get done everything they want to get done. The system will not allow it. That is the brilliance of the founding fathers. So when Whoopi Goldberg and all these idiots out here say stuff like this, they just show how stupid they are. It's an impossibility in the United States of America to get that done. In this country, it's too well put together. We've had people that wanted to be dictators in that Oval Office for years. Barack Obama wanted to be a dictator. Bill Clinton wanted to be a dictator. They all want to be dictators, but they can't. It's the old Tears of Fear song, right? Everybody wants to rule the world. Everybody wants to do what they want. And the founding fathers knew that. And they said, so we're going to set up a system of checks and balances with a Supreme Court that says, we're going to check every law you pass, and we're going to see if it meets the Constitution. And if it does not, it's out. And at the end of the day, the greatest check to all of it is the Second Amendment. So that if the government starts acting a little bit too salty, start getting a little bit too disrespectful, the people can pick up their guns and put them right back in their place. So no, Donald Trump or nobody else is going to be a dictator in the United States of America. Not as long as they got patriots like me and you standing out here with our guns, Stephen.
Yeah. Okay, I don't mean to beat a dead horse. I just want to go back to the Whoopi Goldberg comment one more time, because not only is Donald Trump married to an immigrant of a different race, but J.D. Vance, who he picked for his vice presidential candidate, is married to a beautiful Indian woman who's not embarrassed or ashamed of her Indian heritage, unlike Kamala Harris. So why would he pick a vice president who he would then have to break up their marriage and deport his wife and his own wife? Whoopi Goldberg, you don't make any sense.
I said she's stupid. These people, everybody on the left that's in the upper echelons of power are very, very stupid and immoral people. People think that because they made money by being stupid, that they are really smart people. They're not. Look at how they live their lives. Look at the things that they press. Look at the things that they do. These are people that take their clothes off on TV for money. These are people that tell dirty jokes for money. These are people they're just rodeo clowns. They're people that don't know how to do anything except get in front of a camera and be stupid. They never built anything. They never started anything. They are paid for their buffoonery. And that's what Whoopi Goldberg is. And right now, I think the American people have finally caught up with these folks. I'm so happy to see that the black men and the black community in this race is finally losing. The Democratic Party is losing its luster in front of these people, because as you just said, Kamala Harris comes out, lies about our race, tries to gaslight people into believing that she's black. And then when Donald Trump tells everybody, no, she was Asian, and she was ended up there three years ago, and people start checking, and they say, oh my goodness, this is a Caucasian woman that actually stood up and lied about who she is. Her own father won't ever have anything to do with it, because she's lied about him and about what his race is. And when you are running for president of the United States of America and your own father won't stand beside you, that tells you that something's really, really, really wrong with you. And I think that the American people recognize that this woman is flawed. She has no virtue. She has no policy. She's just an empty suit that these leftists and these liberals are going to try to put in the White House to try to use the United States government to spread their demonic, evil ideology all over the world.
Okay. I appreciate your feedback on that. You mentioned Kamala Harris's father. He wrote that the United States of America needs to be extremely cautious about allowing too many illegal immigrants into the country, because it would specifically be detrimental for the Black community. Now I'm seeing where large areas of Black Americans in Chicago is one of the biggest. New York is one of the biggest. These illegal immigrants are being given preferential treatment. They're being given housing vouchers that are much higher than American citizens. They're being given food stamps with excessive amounts of taxpayer money. In Chicago, they were taking over community centers in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Do you think maybe Kamala Harris's father, who does not support her, is embarrassed of her? Do you think he was onto something when he said, this illegal immigration is extremely dangerous, especially for the Black American?
Oh yeah, it's they're doing it for a reason, Stephen. You already know what it is. They want to get these congressional districts back that they lost in California, in Chicago, and up in New York. People are moving down south, and every 10 years you get to a point where you have to do the census, and the congressional districts are drawn based upon how many people live where. And many people started moving down south, so the South started gaining congressional seats, and the North started losing congressional seats. And of course, you've seen they've been to the Supreme Court because the Constitution says that you count persons. Well, the Republicans are trying to say you should only count citizens to determine who votes. So the Constitution said persons. The Democrats want them to count persons, and if they count persons, that means they count illegals. So if you get a bunch of illegals to go up to Chicago, to go up to New York, and go to California, and if they count them on the census, California, New York, Chicago gets all of these congressional seats back. These seats will probably be seats will belong to the Democrat Party. And, we only got like a 3 or 4 seat majority in the House right now. You get 8, 9 seats up there in the North. There you go. They control the House all over again. That's the game. And also, they are just believing that one day something's going to happen, whether it be a Supreme Court decision or whether or not Joe Biden or somebody finds a way to give the amnesty and give them the right to vote. They believe that somehow or another, one day, they're going to get these illegals to start voting for them. But I think that if the GOP does what the GOP is supposed to do, and we keep just spreading our message, even when it comes time for these illegals to start voting, you'll find that they might start voting for us also. But they are dirty. You've seen that these Democrats have gone to court to try to make sure that illegals can vote in elections. Some cities, like up in New York, was trying to get illegals to vote in the citywide election up there. They're trying to get them to vote in certain cities right now. So they want illegals to vote. They already give them driver's licenses. And they're finding that a lot of these people have already registered to vote because of them going and getting their driver's license. I think it's this motor voter thing, and they filled out their driver's licenses. They've said that they can vote, and now they're finding these people are on the voter rolls of these states. I think the state of Virginia is in the Supreme Court right now, and I think the Supreme Court just ruled that the state of Virginia can take these people off of the voting rolls. So the Democrats have been playing a dirty game for a very long time. I've said before, when people ask how do they steal elections, I say they steal elections legally. They do dirty stuff like this. They got undercover, dirty ways of stealing elections. Street money, sold to the polls, bottle liquor at a pork chop sandwich, ballot harvesting. The stuff I just talked to you about, this whole thing about having illegals vote. This is how they steal elections. And when you're losing elections, like we both know, Donald Trump lost the election, about 40-some thousand votes in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, and in Michigan. If he had won those states, he'd have been president. So again, they know that every vote counts, and they will steal as many as they possibly can. And when I say steal, I'm not talking about voting machines and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of above my pay grade. But I know this. I know they'll do souls to the polls, which will pay a black preacher money for every one of his congregation, everyone in his congregation that he gets to the polls to vote for the Democrat Party. I know they'll do street money, which means that they'll give you $5 to vote for the Democrat Party or $10. I know they'll give you a bottle of liquor and a pork chop sandwich. They'll go to a homeless shelter and give these people food and liquor and whatever to vote for the Democratic Party. I know that for a fact. And all of that stuff is technically legal in the ghettos. And that's how they take these ghettos by 90 and 95% every single election cycle. And it's a machine, and they're good at it.
Yeah. I just saw this. Let me put this up on the screen. Let's see. Oh, it's a little bit hard to read, but I'll just explain it to people. So the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey of Missouri, as well as 25 states, have filed a group lawsuit because there are states all around the country that are fighting to keep illegal immigrants, dead people, and unregistered voters on their voter rolls. There's only one party that's fighting for this, the Democrat Party. There's not a single Republican that's fighting to keep dead people on the voter rolls. And so it's like, why do you need those so that you can send out more ballots? Anyway, that major lawsuit was just launched this morning. Let me ask you this. So President Trump goes on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's there for 3 hours. Kamala Harris says, "No way, I can't do 3 hours. I will definitely say stupid stuff for 180 minutes." But one of the things that stood out to me is Joe Rogan said, "Are you going to open up the JFK files?" Trump kind of explained why he wants to and why he was asked not to. And then he said, "By the way, Joe, did you know there's also a Martin Luther King file they don't want the American people to see?" Why would there be a secret Martin Luther King file that the FBI is asking Donald Trump not to share with the American people? What do you know about that?
There's a lot of things about Martin Luther King Jr. that I think, people know some of it. And people want to believe that Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by the FBI, this, that, the other. Okay, they can believe that if they like. He was working with the government. Martin Luther King Jr. stayed in the Oval Office. He was always around LBJ, always around senators and congressmen. He wasn't outside of the system. King was part of the system. Whenever LBJ signed the Civil Rights Bill, who was up there looking at his face, shaking his hand, right? It's Martin Luther King. So people say that the FBI wanted to kill King. They were protecting King. The King was part of the whole civil rights movement, because the civil rights movement was part of a whole American narrative to destroy communism. The communist primary weapon, the communists used to get other nations to turn against democracy, they would point out how America was treating Black people. Look at how they're treating Black Americans. So the civil rights movement started, and LBJ and JFK was behind the March on Washington. They was behind the 64 Civil Rights Act. Civil Rights Act, the 65 Voting Rights Act. They wanted those things to be passed to get the UN off of their back and to show the world, look at how good we're treating Black people now. They passed the Great Society, all that money for welfare, Medicaid, Medicare. And when they started talking about the Poor People's March, well, the Poor People's March, when they shot King, it didn't stop. All you got to do was just look online and put in Poor People's March. They had Resurrection City in Washington, D.C., where they stayed there for months, camping out and doing all kind of stuff. So anyway, Martin Luther King Jr. had 45 girlfriends. He was involved in orgies. He was involved in rapes. He was a drunk. He had outside children. John MacArthur, Virgil Walker, and a lot of great scholars have even come to find out that King wasn't a Christian based on King's own papers, what he wrote and said. Said King didn't believe in the virgin birth. He didn't believe in the deity of Christ. He didn't believe in the resurrection. He didn't believe in hell. So he wasn't even a Baptist minister, because in order to be a Baptist minister, you got to believe in that. He was a fake when it came to that. When you look at what Martin Luther King Jr. did for Black people, you ask the question, what did he do? I always ask people that question. I mean, we're at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America. Schools have been destroyed. Educational system of the Black economy is destroyed. Black family destroyed. We got AIDS. We got fentanyl. We have more men in prison, 5 times more men in prison. And his I Have a Dream speech was nothing more than a bunch of Marxist, communist propaganda. In our Christian religion, we are told that we've been set free by Jesus Christ. And he who the king has, the son has freed, is free indeed. We've been set free. 5 times in that speech, he told us we were not free. 5 times. Even at the end of it, he said, on some certain day, we'll be free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. He said, 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is not free. That is a lie. I was born free. He said that we will never be satisfied, not until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. That's a fancy way of saying never. But Jesus Christ said, my peace I leave with you. King said, we'll never be satisfied. Jesus said, my peace I leave with you. A peace that transcends all understanding. He said, if you're dreaming about a day that one day his 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. Well, let me tell you something. You will be judged by the content of your character. It is inescapable. It is unavoidable. They've given these people a fallback position that makes them believe that if they haven't made it in America, it's the color of their skin. No, it is your character. It's not the color of your skin. Because you know why? In my Christian religion, my God tells me that I'm not to be concerned how I'm viewed by man. If you don't like the color of my skin, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you have another problem. And again, Christianity is not a religion of nonviolence. It's a religion of non-aggression. It's no virtue in you allowing someone to come in your house tonight and rape your wife and your children. And you say, because I'm a Christian man, I can't do anything. No, we defend our wives. We defend our property. We defend our children. So Martin Luther King Jr. has led the Black community down into a cauldron where we are around still apologizing for being Black, asking white racists to love us, and have such an inner hatred for ourselves that we destroy ourselves whenever we're in close proximity with each other, because we're too busy asking white America to love us instead of teaching each other to love ourselves. If you do not learn to love yourself, you cannot love anyone else. And instead of asking white racists to love us, we need to understand that God loves us, we love ourselves, we love you. Regardless of how you love us, we love you. But that don't give you the right to put your hands on us. So when these King files come out, everybody's going to be surprised. Everybody want to believe that the FBI shot King. Everybody wants to believe that there was some government conspiracy to take him out. No, you're going to find out it was something much less sinister and much more common. And I know more about it than a lot of people think. I've been sworn to silence. And that's what Trump's talking about. There's some things that people are going to find out in 2027 that's going to rock their world.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I was shocked. I mean, obviously I want him to release the JFK files, but when he said, oh, did you know there's also a secret Martin Luther King file? I was like, okay, what's this about? Let me go a little bit deeper with you on this race division. Many of my viewers might not know this about the Republican Party. The Republican Party was originally started and established to stop the expansion of slavery. Mm-hmm. And Abraham Lincoln was the president of the first Republican Party, and he ended slavery. How on earth did the Black community become captured by the Democrat Party, especially with the Democrat started KKK harassing and killing them? It's like, I can't understand. Like, a party started to stop the expansion of slavery, that party ends slavery, and you end up in the other party that had the KKK that killed you, burned your houses, pulled you out of the bed at night, threw bricks through your windows. Help me understand this.
Yeah, it is this misnomer and this lie that Black people wanted to be free from slavery down south. That every Black person wanted to be free. Very few did. Abraham Lincoln said in his Cooper Union speech, he said that talking to the white people down south, he said, basically, I'm going to paraphrase, he said that you say that we are trying to start slave rebellions. We deny it. He said, you come up here a lot and tell us how much your slaves really do love you. And from what we see, it's true, because you cannot get a slave rebellion started down south, because one of the slaves involved will go and tell his beloved master about it and destroy the whole thing. It is this idea that black people wanted to be away from their Democratic Party masters. They never did. Most stayed down south, even after the civil rights movement. I mean, even after the Civil War was over and they had been emancipated. The census of 1860, excuse me, the census of 1860 said that 90% of all black people live down south. The census of 1910 said the exact same thing. 90% of black people lived south. They hadn't gone anywhere. In 1866, they passed the Homestead Act. They talk about 40 acres in a mule. Well, the 1866 Homestead Act gave any able-bodied black man, white or black, 150 acres of land. If they just go out and work it for 5 years, they'd have it. I was at University of Utah last week speaking, and I went out and I was in Salt Lake City. I saw how the Mormons had built this beautiful, beautiful place down there. Why? They went out west. And they said, we're not going to deal with the discrimination and the hatred of these people across the Mississippi. And they built their own. And they were still American citizens, like they still are. Black people offer the same thing, but they want to stay with their master. And if you look at the civil rights movement, what were black people arguing about in the South? They weren't arguing to be separated from the white racists and the Ku Klux Klan. They were fighting to integrate with them. They wanted to go to the schools with them. They wanted to eat beside them. They wanted to use the toilet beside them. They wanted to sit on the bus beside them and drink from the water fountain beside them. They've always loved their master. That's why I've always said slavery is a choice. Even right now, Donald Trump is telling them that I will give you school vouchers and tax credits and charter schools to get your children and let you have parental choice and educational freedom. All you got to do is vote for it. What do? They vote for the Democrat. Donald Trump says, I'll let you arm yourself to defend yourself against police trying to kill you, dope dealers in the street, any white racist trying to hurt you, Ku Klux Klan, all of it. We want to give our guns up. Donald Trump says that I am going to make it easy for you to pray to your God whenever you want to, in public, in school, anywhere. Complete freedom to do it. No, we want the government to tell us when we can do it. They're choosing slavery. They always have. Slavery is a choice. It's a choice then, it's a choice now. And watch and see what I tell you. In this election, even though Kamala Harris said, I'm going to lock your children in failing schools where God is not welcome, even though I'm going to try to take your gun so you cannot defend yourself, which, if you don't have the right to defend yourself, you are not free. Even though she's saying that I'm going to bring in illegals that are going to take up space and raise your rents and take your job, you're going to find over half the American population is going to choose that. And they're going to walk around and say that slavery is not a choice. Let me tell you something to these people. You are no longer being oppressed. You are now a participant in your own destruction. You've never been oppressed. You've always been a participant. Even when the Civil War was going on and Northern soldiers, white and black, was coming out here to free them, they were digging the trenches and building the ramparts for the Confederacy to drive them off. They were picking the cotton to fund the Confederate war machine and doing segregation and Jim Crow. They still worked to pick the cotton that funded the governments that kept them under their thumb. They've always been part of their own oppression. And until they come to that conclusion, until they come to the conclusion that they've always chosen the plantation and the democratic masters over freedom, they'll always remain slaves. Like our Bible says inside of Galatians 5. For freedom, Christ has set us free. And do not submit yourself to the yoke of slavery. Do not submit yourself. Do not submit yourself to the yoke of slavery. I refuse to be a slave. I don't ask the government for my freedom. I defy them to come and try to take it. And it will be a pleasure for me to put a bullet in the head of anybody that comes and tries. So all these jokers out there crying and complaining and begging, when you are given the choice to accept your freedom from the beginning of this country until now, when George Washington even said, if you come fight for your freedom, you'll get it. The British gave them the same option. They turned it down. Some took it, some turned it down. Abraham Lincoln, Civil War. same thing. Emancipation Proclamation. Come fight for your freedom. Less than 1% of the slaves came and did it from the South. The rest of the free men, 87% of the free black men up north, put on the uniform. 1% down in the cotton fields. Slavery is a choice. And watch millions of black people choose it now. So they've always chosen the Democrat Party. And they always will until they wake themselves up and start believing in their God, believing in themselves. Stop complaining. Stop talking about what somebody else has done. And stop walking around pointing at somebody else for their failures. That's how cowards are made. And I'm not a coward.
Yeah, no, I love it. By the way, next time you come to Utah, will you please let me take you to dinner? I did.
You in Utah?
I'm in Utah. I didn't know you came.
How far are you from Salt Lake City?
I'm in Salt Lake City. I would have loved to have taken you to dinner. Next time. Next time.
I feel so bad about this. If I had known you,
that's okay. Next time. There's plenty of future ahead of both of us. So okay.
You don't understand how bad I feel right now, knowing that I was in the same city that you were in for 2 days and did not know it. Wow, Stephen. All right.
Yeah, next time.
We'll
next time.
All right. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Let me go on to something else here. Former President Barack Obama and now his wife Michelle continue to guilt trip black men. President Obama accused black men of being sexist for not basically submitting to a woman leader. And now Michelle Obama told black men to take their lives seriously, to quit being apathetic voters and vote for Kamala Harris. But maybe black men are taking control of their lives. They're not being apathetic. They are being serious. They just happen to want Donald Trump instead of what they've been getting for generations from the Democrat Party. What are your thoughts on the Obama's comments to black men?
Man, these guys, Obamas, have very little credibility in the black community any longer. People are now taking a second look at the Barack Obama administration. They saw that he was the LGBTQIA, the alphabet mafia. He was their president. He wasn't the president for any of the black Americans. They see that Newsweek magazine put him on the cover and put a rainbow halo over his head, called him the first gay American president. And Barack accepted that. They're finding out all of these things they buried about his past. This guy by the name of Larry St. Clair coming out and saying that he had gay sex with Barack Obama in the back of a limousine. And, Tucker Carlson had Larry St. Clair on the show. Talk about how, and Barack Obama admitted that he had done cocaine. So Larry St. Clair said they did cocaine together and crack. And Larry St. Clair he passed a lie detector test. They did a sworn affidavit, but they buried it. So, and then Barack married a woman that they call Big Mike. She looks like, what she looks like. And there are people out there saying there's something just ain't right about the Obamas. Like the little Keith Sweat song, something just ain't right. And so then they leave Chicago. Oh, they all black, till he doesn't need the black community anymore for their votes. So then he goes to the Hamptons, where all these rich white folks live, buys himself a $12 million oceanfront mansion. He got butlers and maids and, landscapers. And then as soon as Kamala Harris get in trouble and they need black people again to keep them in power, here he comes, going to point his finger in the face of black men and tell them, you better vote the way I tell you to vote, and vote on account of color. Suppose Donald Trump goes out there and tells a bunch of white men, you better vote for me because I'm white. Why does the press allow Barack Obama to get away with such a thing? Or Michelle Obama to get away with such a thing? They can actually come down from their high ivory tower perch and come down to the ghettos of America and say, you Negroes better vote the way I tell you to vote. And you better vote for somebody that's black because they're black. Not as a Christian say you're supposed to vote the way you're supposed to vote as a Christian. You vote for color and the Democrat Party based on that. If you are Republican and you black, no. But if you are black and you're a Democrat, You better vote the way I tell you to. He's condescending. He's an elitist. I saw him, and he looked like the crypt keeper. Dried up, skinny, looked like them cigarettes, and liquor is tearing him up. And all of that stuff he's done in the past is coming down on him. He used to be a good-looking young man. Now he look like he's aged 30 years since the last time I saw him. But you know what? That's God kicking his behind. Barack and Michelle Obama have no credibility. Barack and Michelle Obama are going to be thrown into the ash heap of history. And when Kamala Harris loses on Tuesday, I think that this is going to be the high water mark for the Democratic Party, and they're going to start dissolving, and they'll never, ever, ever get power in the United States of America.
I think even Trump said, Barack doesn't have the same pull that he used to. I think you're on to something there. When Kamala Harris loses, what do you think her next move is? You think she just kind of fades or maybe goes back to California and tries to replace Gavin Newsom as the governor, or what do you think her next moves will be?
No, she's going to be done. I mean, she was never a good politician. As you know, she never got one vote in a Democratic primary. Never won. Whoever put this thing together for her, though, was a genius. How they slid her into the vice presidency, then how they slid her up into the Democratic nomination. It was a great maneuver, but at the end of the day, she had to come out and she had to start talking. And when she started talking, people saw that she was just as stupid as she could be. She was an empty suit. And the American people are not stupid. They know who this woman is. They know she's a liar. They know she's a hypocrite. And right now they're still pushing the polls. And I'm thinking that at the end of the day, she's going to lose worse than anybody predicted. And she's going to go and she's going to fade into history. Now, she'll come out and she'll give a speech every now and again. But she's not like Jimmy Carter, a person that really, really had convictions about helping the poor, helping the needy, trying to bring up people's lives. She was all about herself, never about anybody else but herself. Her whole life has been about only her. She would never have any children. She didn't get married until she was in her 50s. She was running around just in the streets doing whatever she had to do to get power. And right now she's doing the same thing. So when it's no longer about her getting power, if it ever comes down to her just helping people because it's just right to help people, you're not going to see Kamala Harris because she's never been about that. It's always been about her. And if she can't benefit personally, it doesn't mean anything to her.
Okay. All right. Final question. I know you're on X, but everybody's feed shows them something different. Something that Twitter continues to show me is this video of Attorney General Kamala Harris she's giving a speech where she's openly bragging about the swipe of a pen ruining people's lives. And I guess there's something called truancy where if a child misses too many days of school in California, the school system loses funding. And they were going to lose $1.5 billion of funding from the federal government, basically the American taxpayer. So she starts locking families up. If their children miss too much school, she would shame and embarrass them, try to get them to lose their job, lose standing in their community. And in this speech, she specifically says that she targeted Black mothers because they were the easiest to break. Wow. I don't know if you've seen that video, but what are your thoughts on her abusively using her position to railroad families into behaving a certain way so that she could get money from the government?
Yeah, that's what they've always done. The Democratic Party has always used Black people like that. We've always been nothing more than a tool. The public educational system is designed to make sure that Black people are educated to do one thing: vote for the Democratic Party. Keep them poor, keep them afraid, keep them inebriated, destroy the family, keep them addicted to government, and they'll have to vote for us. Send them to an educational system that doesn't believe in God, that tells them that they're victims, tell them that they are being discriminated against, and they'll have to vote for us. And we will force parents to send them to that system. This is why she's against school choice, because she knows that if Black people ever get out of the public educational system or the government educational system, and that the children start getting a proper education, they will leave the Democratic Party. They'll find out that the Democratic Party is a party of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. They'll find out that the Democratic Party has been a party of slavery from 1800 to 1860, the party of the Confederacy from 1860 to 1865, the party of Jim Crow from 1865 to 1965, now the party of transgenderism, 9-month abortion, open borders, fentanyl, sex trafficking, taking your guns away, world wars. She knows that Black people will know the truth. It's a slave plantation, man. Same way the master didn't want their slaves to get off their plantation or read pamphlets or talk to anyone outside of the plantation, because they knew the slave would learn the truth. They learned their true value. They learned what they were worth. They would believe that they could go out there and they could earn it, and they didn't have to sit back and wait for it. So yeah, Kamala Harris and the Democrats are going to always attack Black people and Black parents. And then after they attack Black parents first, they're going to come and they're going to attack America. Because they understand, as Abraham Lincoln said, that a house divided against itself cannot stand. This country cannot survive half slave or half free. It'll have to become all of one or all the other. And they intend to make America all slave, from white to Black to Jew to Gentile to Protestant to Catholic. They want all of us under government control, with them on top, pulling the strings. And it starts with the Black community and it comes up from there. And they know that this election is a tipping point, that if they can get another 4 years in power, that they'll get that 51, 52% of Americans under government control perpetually, and then they'll have this nation forever. And this is why this is so important. We got to put them back on their heels, and hopefully they'll never rise again.
Yeah. Well, from what I've read, LBJ said, we'll give the Black community a bunch of benefits so that they are dependent on the government, and then we'll have those Black people voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Of course, he didn't say Black people.
He said N-word, yeah.
Yeah. So, Vince, I love having you come on. You're one of my favorite guests to have. Thank you so much for taking time out today. You've authored The Iron Triangle, Crime Inc. You've done a documentary, Will You Go to Hell for Me? Other books, other articles. You're one of the most successful videos on the Tucker Carlson network. What else are you working on? Do you have anything new out that I can promote for you?
Well, I have this book, The End of Tolerance, just came out. It's telling us we need to end our tolerance in America. We've been too tolerant. And because we've been tolerant, they've taken over our schools, they've taken over our institutions, they've taken over the arts, and after they took over the arts, they took over the culture. It's time to start pushing back and say, no further. Our tolerance has ended. We're not going to allow you to sexually groom our children. We're not going to allow you to castrate our little boys and call them little girls, or have these demented men going to the bathrooms, or take away our guns, or not allow us to pray to our God. You're not going to tell us be tolerant, be tolerant, be tolerant. And then our tolerance allows you to destroy us. Our tolerance is over. And I have this podcast on X, on YouTube, and on Rumble, the best Everett Ellison show. We talk about these issues, and brother, I light it up. I want y'all to go there, watch this podcast, and really, 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 really get involved in it. Like it, subscribe to it. And as we put this information out there, people will respond to it. Black men and Black people are leaving the Democratic Party because you, Stephen, give people like me a platform, because people like me go out and use that platform to talk to the masses. We're not going through the old media anymore. This ABC, CBS, NBC. We're not asking permission anymore. We've gone over their heads. We now are doing what the founding fathers wanted us to do, and that is go out in the marketplace and speak truth to power and tell these people, if you don't agree with us, come and debate us. Come on, let's have a good discussion about it. So I don't fear them. I know you don't fear them. And I thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity. And I would love for all of your subscribers to go visit me at the Vince Everett Ellison Show on YouTube, on Max, and on Rumble. And we'll make sure we keep these dirty, low-down, sniveling coward Democrats back on their heels.
Okay. I'm going to put a direct link so it's easy to find. I appreciate you coming on. Have a great election night at the Patrick Bet David party in Miami. I wish I was able to join you, but next time you're in town or I'm down where you are, we got to get together for dinner.
All right,
Vince,
brother. God bless
thank
you.
you for coming on. Hey, have a great day.
You too.